In this video, I'll give you specific practice tips for Chopin's Nocturne Opus 9 No. 2. With my method, you'll learn this piece faster in a shorter amount of time. Hi everyone! Welcome to the Piano Keys. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marina and I'm your best piano playing friend. I make courses and tutorials to help you level up and reach your piano goals. You can find my courses and tutorials on my website, thepianokeys.com, linked below. This is the second practice time video for Chopin's Nocturne Opus 9 No. 2. If you want to start with number 1, you can find the link to that video below this video. In this video, I'll be practicing the B section of this piece. I'll show you how to find patterns and practice them so that you're spending less time with the learning process and more time enjoying the piece. Most of the time when people practice, they just repeat over and over. This is the longest and least productive, least reliable way of learning a piece. In this video, I'll show you a different way to approach practicing. I'll teach you how to find patterns and practice them so that they stay in your fingers and in your mind more reliably and for a longer amount of time. I'll talk about fingering, I will talk about pedaling, and musical interpretation. Make sure you're on my mailing list so that you'll get news and updates of all my new courses and videos that I put up. My mailing list is linked below. You can also join my Facebook group, Piano Practice Tips with the Piano Keys, for a wonderful community of very supportive pianists. We ask questions, we answer questions, people post videos of themselves playing, and we all cheer each other on. I'm there all the time. I do have the sheet music for this piece available for free on my website, thepianokeys.com. I suggest that you go get it and have it nearby, or actually right at your piano when you watch this video, because I'll be referring to stuff that's on the sheet music. All right, if you're ready, let's get started. We're going to start with the left hand, and at first I just want to know what's happening in the root notes or the bass notes of each chord or each group of 3 notes. I'm going to start with the last measure of the A section, which we've already learned, just to kind of see where I'm coming from. So we know that we had a B flat, a lower B flat, and then E flat, and this E flat actually starts off the B section. So now we're in measure 9. We've got 2 B flats, we're going down by a half step, 2 A's, then another half step, and then we play that same A flat, but we're going to shoot it down an octave, and then E flat, up an octave, E flat. So I want to play just that so you can hear what it sounds like without me talking. This is starting on the last beat of measure 8. Got a very pop song sensibility to it. This half step going down, the half step motion has been used a lot in pop songs. So let's move on and hear what the rest of it sounds like, the next 2 measures. So we were on E flat. Now we're going to jump down to E natural twice. Then we're stepping up F, G, C, F, and then here we've got that turnaround going back to the A section, and it's a beautiful chromatic line going down. And then here, B flat, which is the 5th note of our scale, takes us back to 1. That would be measure 13, starting the next section. So I'll play these last 2 measures, just the root notes, so you can hear that progression. And then ending up on 1. I'll play the whole 4 measure section, just listening for that little melody that's happening in these low notes, which is very pretty. Actually, I'll start right on measure 9. which is also the beginning of the next section. That's so pretty. So now I'm going to play that, and then on top of it, sing the melody. You don't have to sing well, you don't have to sing like an opera singer, but it's a really good idea to sing and play. So you sing the melody and then play whatever you're doing in the left hand. It kind of gets it in your head without having to also worry about where the fingers go. So our melody in this section starts on the last two notes of measure 8. Okay, it's up here. I'm going to sing it down here. So, ba da 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 dum. Ba da 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 That is so pretty. And by doing this, practicing it like this, I'm focusing on playing left hand and hearing that right hand melody without playing it, and then reproducing it with my voice. When you can hear the melody without playing it, or hear any music without playing it first, when you do play it, eventually it actually helps you find those notes easier. And the more you train yourself to do that, the better you get at it. So now I'm going to focus on the left hand again and figure out what patterns we're seeing. We've worked on this sort of thing before. It's a really, really great way to practice. Looking at measure 9, I see that the first two groups look the same on the page. They're exactly the same. So I know they're going to sound the same. And I'm doing that again. Now, the other thing I can look at is the group itself, just one group, and say, okay, what's common here? Well, I know that this guy is alone. We've got the 2 notes, and then we've got the 3 notes. So between the 2 notes and the 3 notes, we've got a common note, which is that D. Look, here's that D, which is the top note here. It becomes the middle note of the next chord. So that is kind of like my anchor note. I know that I need to stay very close to it because I'm going to play it again, like that. Okay, so I do this twice. Now, looking at the next 2 groups, again, just visually, I can see they look exactly the same. That tells me they're going to sound exactly the same. And then if we look at what's similar inside the group itself, I see again the C, which is the top note here, becomes the bottom note here. So here we only have 2 notes. We don't have a middle note, we have a bottom note and a top note. So here I know that C is my anchor note. I have to stay close to it. In fact, I stay right on top of it so I don't have to find it again, like that. All right, now I want to see if there's anything in common between the first 2 groups and the next 2 groups in this measure. I see that in the first group, we've got an F as the bottom note here. And in the second group, we have that same F. Okay? So lots of ways to anchor myself and know that I'm moving from a specific thing to another specific thing. We don't want to think of every note as an individual event. That is really, it's like the longest way you can take to learning a piece of music. You want to find where you're coming from, where you're going to, what's the same, what's different, that sort of thing. So now I'll play those 4 groups in measure 9. I know this one is the same. Now I know my root note is down a half step, and my bottom note here is still the F. And I know this group is the same. Okay? Doggy hairs. All right, let's see what's happening next. Next group, we've got an A flat. Do you see it? Do you see the C is common between this and this? We've got that C. Now, the next group does not look the same. It looks kind of similar, but I can see that there's already a C flat, so I know that that C is not going to be played again. And I see that the A flat is now down an octave. So this group is somewhat similar to group 1, but it's not the same. So I'm playing A flat. Okay, I see that the E flat is still the same between group 1 and group 2, but now I've got a C flat here. And then that same C flat is going to be the middle note of my next chord. So basically, the difference between the first group and the second group is we've added that C flat. If the C flat weren't there, it would be the same exact thing. Of course, this guy's down an octave, but it's still an A flat. So I just have to remember that. This is the same as this, except I've got the C flat instead. Okay? And then we've got, have we seen that before? Well, let me scroll back. Yes, we have. It's the same exact thing we played in the beginning of the piece. That means we already know it. And then the next group is exactly the same as that, except the E flat is an octave higher. And then we can see that within the group itself, we've got the E flat here as the common note. All right, so playing measure 10. I know the next group is very similar, but it's got the C flat instead of the C natural. And then this, we know from the very beginning of the piece, we've already played it several times. That's familiar. All right, moving on. Next, we've got an E natural. We've got a D flat here. And we see that that D flat is repeated in the next chord. Again, it's a common note. So that one's kind of cool. Let's play that again. All right, looking at the next group, visually I can see that it's not the same. The bottom note is the same. We've got still that E natural, but now we've got a different chord happening. Sorry, let me get that better. Okay, this is what happens when you have small hands. You really have to think about how you're going to stretch to find a chord. Now I can see that this C is the same C that it's in this chord. So that's common. That's good. I'll play those two chords or those two groups one after the other. All right. I can see that the next group is also different. So here we've got a very quick harmonic progression, meaning we're not staying on one chord for very long. We're moving along. So the group 3 in measure 11, got an F. Again, I have to stretch for that, and I can see that this E flat is going to be the middle note of the next event, which is this chord. Okay, and then the next group, group 4, does not look at all like this. Again, it's different. We've got the G. Now we have a D natural here, and I can see that this D natural is going to be the same note as the middle note of the next group. There it is. All right. If you have trouble reading these notes that are on ledger lines, all you have to do is count up to it. So for example, we know that the bottom note is B flat, so we can count the lines and spaces. The next line is going to be C, the next space is D, next line is E flat, and I say E flat because we're in the key that has an E flat here. You could say it's E if you want. And then the next space is going to be F. Next line is G. Next space is, you can either say it's an A or an A flat, however you want to think about it. And then that line note is B flat. So that's how you can find notes that you're not used to reading, either on the staff or, on ledger lines. You just use the music alphabet, A, B, C, D, F, G. All right, so this I can see is going to be more of a challenging measure because there are so many different things happening, and because for me particularly, I really have to stretch my hand to make sure that I'm accurate with these notes. So I'm going to play that. Oh, and also, if you're jumping around such great distances, what do you aim for? It depends on you and it depends on the situation. In this case, I'm aiming for the D flat, and then I know that I have to stretch my pinky basically as far as it'll go, and that'll be in the right place. So I reach for that D flat, and then here I'm aiming for the G. Here, obviously, I aim for the E. Again, I'm aiming my second finger to C. Then I'm aiming for the E flat, and again, stretching as much as I can. And here, I think I should probably do, let's see. I should probably do this fingering with the 3 here, but it's very awkward to get to. And I don't think I'm gonna like it. So I'm gonna do 2 and 5 and then just pick up and use a different finger on that D. For me, that works better. All right, so I would spend a lot of time on practicing this. Another way I can practice it is playing all the chords as though they are not played at the same, like the notes are not played at the same time, like this. So you see, instead of playing like this, I'm making myself be very aware of all the notes that are here. This is a great way to practice chords so that you don't get confused with what the notes are in that chord. Okay, lots of ways to practice. And now we've got one more measure to go. I see that this is low C on the bottom. Okay, again, we still have the trend that we've had of this note being in common between the 2 chords here, the 2 upper chords. All right, I see the next chord is different, so there's our common note again. Now here we've got what in jazz or blues is called a turnaround, which means it brings us back to like the beginning, okay? It's not called a turnaround in classical music that I'm aware of, but I'm going to call this our turnaround. So let's see, what fingering would I use? I probably would do 1 and 3. Actually, I'm not sure. So I'm not going to worry too much about the fingering here. You can work out your own fingering. I'm just going to play what feels good. There's a lot happening, right? So, well, one thing I can do is practice listening just for the bottom notes. Get it in my ear and in my fingers. And you'd probably want to use the fingering that you're going to be using when you add the other notes to it. Then I can play the top notes. And then there's no top note for here, the next 2 notes. Okay, that's easy. And then we've got just one bottom note, middle note in the next to the last chord. All right, so I'm hearing bum 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 bum. I'm hearing that in my head as I'm playing it. So that will take some practice. You can also do whatever your fingering is. Just to get it in your head. All right, I'm going to play the entire left hand and see how it goes. I have to be very careful about that guy. All right, let's take a look at the right hand. So the melody should be pretty familiar to you if you love this piece. We've got lots of repeated notes here. I want to talk a little bit about repeated notes. Repeated notes are best played in most situations with a relaxed wrist. So you don't want to, stab at the note. Again, in most situations, not always, okay? Nothing is 100% of the time. You might even have to play with a little bit of tension sometimes if a piece is really technically challenging, but you want to still relax at every opportunity. So when I'm playing this, these two Fs, I think of the first F as a jumping off point and the second F as a landing point. I don't want to do this. Digging into the notes. Why? The first F is short and it's on the weaker part of the beat, and then the second F is much longer and on the stronger part of the beat. It's more important. So the first F is just kind of playing it lightly and leaning more into the second note. Okay? Then we've got 4 E flats in a row. When you've got notes in a row, rarely do you want to play them all at the same level. Either you want to get louder as you go through the notes like this, or start louder and get softer like this, or grow toward the middle and then back off toward the end like this. Let me do that better. Okay, lots of things you can do in interpreting those notes. What you don't want to do is play them all the same. So, and then here's another instance where we have a repeated note. So, jump, land, staccato, long. However you want to think about it. Short, long. Sorry. So I'm down here, I lift slightly, and then I'm on top of the key. Okay, now from here to here we have an octave, and we're going to exaggerate how big that is by really digging into that B flat. So this is a softer B flat, and we really get into that. We don't want to hit it, okay? We want to fall into it. Very different sound. Here's hitting, here's falling. Okay, then we're stepping downward, and then here Chopin says, here's your melody, but I also want you to add harmony note to it. So the melody note has to be louder than the harmony note. The way you do it is, the way I do it is first I know which note I want to hear louder, which is this one, and then I kind of make my finger rounder and really go in straight. I don't want to do it this way. If I play with a flat finger, it's going to be really hard to get a louder sound. So I curve my finger as much as I can and go down directly into the key. And then this guy, I give almost no weight to. Going into it. Okay, so just along for the ride. And then I'm going to switch the fifth finger there so I can connect here. Here also we've got the melody note. Unfortunately, it's with the fourth finger, which makes it really more challenging because our fourth finger is the weakest finger on our hand. So here, let's see, how can I do that? I'm going to make this finger round again. I'm going to put the majority of my weight into the fourth finger. Okay, so we don't want to do this. This is not important. This is harmony. We want as much as possible, okay? It's an ongoing work in progress. All right. Then we have the same situation in measure 12, which is we have the E flat is the melody note, and then G is just along for the ride. And then here we've got, again, the top notes are the melody and everything else is supporting. So you really want to hear. Okay. And you, on your copy, you'll see that there is a slur as well as staccatos. That's not a typo. So basically what Chopin is telling us to do here, or the editor, I'm not sure who put in these marks, is to play these notes detached, because you have to. That A is repeated every time. Right? So you can either connect the top notes like this, as much as possible, where it's not repeated, or you can detach every single chord like this. I'm okay with either one. The pedal is going to help us a lot here. So I will make that decision when I put the hands together. Actually, no, let me see right now. So I do kind of a hybrid. I pick up when I need to. And I connect wherever I can. Am I correct? I don't know. I'm going to play it the way I like it. All right, so I'll play the right hand all the way through, and let's listen to it. And then it moves on. All right, so you can see I changed that finger there, that B flat, because I realized I needed to connect here. So I'm not going to do fifth finger, I'm going to do fourth finger. Listening for the melody. All right, so we haven't really talked about the rubato aspect of this, where we have the ritardando, the a tempo, the rallentando. There's a lot, There's a lot happening with playing with the timing of this music. And when I perform it, I will probably do different things at different times. So I'm going to now play it a couple of times through and just see what I can do with the music, the musical interpretation, with the technique challenges. I might do some things that I like, some things I don't like, some things that surprise myself, you know, as I'm listening to the music in the moment. Something might speak to me in a certain way, okay? So you always want to keep the music alive, and you want to be engaged as an artist. All right, I will start at measure 8, the beginning of measure 8, so that we have context about where we're coming from. All right, here we go. Did you like this video? then leave me a comment and a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Help me reach the YouTube AI algorithms. The only way that YouTube knows that my videos are worth watching is if I get lots of engagement. So while I appreciate your private messages telling me how much you like my work, and I want you to keep doing that because it makes me feel great, you'll help me a lot by also leaving a comment here and a thumbs up and a subscribe. Keep practicing, have fun, and I will see you soon. Bye.